pleasant morning to all of you. I'm Andrew James Pagtad from BSCS 1A, and I'm here to discuss one of the tools that we could use in making a Windows Forms app, the month calendar.
So what is a month calendar? A month calendar is known as a graphical interface and is frequently used to change and adjust date information according to your needs. Additionally, this tool allows the user to select a range of dates on a calendar. Also, it allows the user to choose a specific date by scrolling through years, months, and days. So is there a difference between date time picker and month calendar? Well, these two tools perform almost the same function in a program, but they provide different options for the user. To put it simply, DateTime Picker allows the user to set a specific date or time, meaning the user can only pick one date at a time. On the other hand, Month Calendar allows the user to set only the date, but it provides the flexibility to set a range of dates. Now, here are some of the properties of month calendar. In this presentation, I will only present the basic properties. First is show date. The show date property displays the current date at the bottom of the calendar if its value is set as true. Setting the value to false will disappear the date at the bottom of the calendar. Next is max selection count. Max selection count is the total number of days that the user can select. By default, its value is set as 7. Next is first day of week. This property gives you an option to start the week in the application with your preferred day. Additionally, by default, Sunday is selected as the start of the week and Saturday is considered as the last day of the week. Next is show today circle. This property is used to set the circle around the current date. By default, the value of this property is set as true. You can set it to false if you want to remove the circle around the current date. Next is max date. Max date determines the maximum valid date for the control. By default, the max date is set to December 31, 1998. Next is min date. Min date determines the minimum valid date for the control. By default, the min date is set to January 1, 1753. Next is selection range. The selection range is a widely used property which defines the selected range of dates in the control. Next is selection start. The selection start is a property that specifies the start date of the selected range of dates. Next is selection end. The selection end property specifies the end date of the selected range of dates. To further understand these properties, let me show you a sample program. Here is a sample program utilizing the month calendar tool. First, let us look at its properties on the right side. First, let's look at the first day of the week. We can see that the default option is Sunday as the first day of the week and Saturday as the last day of the week. Now, let's try changing the first day of the week into Wednesday. Now, the calendar shows Wednesday as the first day of the week and Tuesday as the last day of the week. For this program, we will stick to using the default option. Next is the max date. We can see that the default max date is December 31, 1998. Let's try changing the max date into December 31, 2509. Next is the min date. We can see that the default min date is January 1, 1753. Let's try changing the min date into January 1, 1900. Next is the max selection count. We can see that the default value is 7. Let's try changing the value into 4. Now let's try to run the program. We can see that we can only scroll up to December 31, 2509, and we can only scroll down to January 1, 1900. Now let's try to highlight a random date. We can see that we can only highlight up to 4 dates. Now let's move on to show today. Since the default value is true, the current date is shown at the bottom of the calendar. If we set it to false, we can see that the current date disappears. Next is show today circle. This encircles the current day in the calendar. If we set it to false, the blue outline is removed. Now, how can we use the input from the month calendar? Let me show you one way. First, create a label where we can display the from date or the start of the range. I will name this label as from label. Then, create a label where we can display the to date or the end of the range. I will name this label as to label. Next, double click your month calendar. Then type from label.text is equal to the name of your calendar, which in this case is month calendar 1, dot selection start dot to string. Alternatively, instead of using selection start, we can also use selection range dot start. Next, type to label is equal to month calendar 1 dot selection end dot to string. Alternatively, instead of using selection end, we can also use selection range dot end. Let's try running the program and highlight a range of dates. As we can see, it now displays the start and the end of the range of days. Now, what if we want to change the format of the date? I will show you a way of changing the format. You can also try to experiment on the format on your free time. Input the following string inside the toString method. The lowercase d represents the full name of the day, like Monday, Tuesday, or Friday. The 4 uppercase M represents the full name of the months, like March, April, or May. The 2 lowercase d represents the day of the month as a number. And lastly, the 4 lowercase y represents the year. Now let's try to run the program. We can see that now, the format of the date has changed according to the format that we entered on the toString method. We have reached the end of my presentation. I hope you learned something from this short presentation, and as always, thank you for watching.